Hello everyone, welcome back to Clownside. I want to give a quick warning about today's video. What I'm about to talk about might be a bit distressing for some. I will be talking about how I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I'll be telling you guys about the symptoms of diabetes. They call it the 4 T's for type 1 diabetes is toilet, thirsty, tired and thinner. So thankfully my mum decided to write down all of the things that she noticed in me because it was so traumatic for me. I don't remember a lot of it. I remember like parts of it but not every single bit. So it started around early April, end of March. I was 9 years old. I was going on 10 years old that year, and I had an increase of appetite. Like as a kid, when we had like roast dinners, I would not touch the potatoes. Roast potatoes, I would not touch them because I was eating every single thing that was put on my plate, and it was strange. My parents just thought, oh, it's just Lizzie growing up. And in my face it looked like I was growing up as well, when in fact it was just my skull showing through because of how much weight I was losing. It was weird. Although I had a increase for appetite, sometimes I wasn't even eating. I'd order like a massive burger and not even touch it. Like I'd take a bite and I'd be full. I would be going to the toilet a lot, even when I wasn't drinking a lot that day. I had a lack of energy. Like there was nothing, absolutely nothing in me, and I was really small as well. The Friday before my diagnosis, I went out into a park where I used to live with one of my mates, and as a 9-year-old kid, you'd think I'd be ecstatic, I'd be everywhere, I'd be anywhere, but I was just sat on the bench with their parent, just not doing anything, like not running around, just very tired and not like a usual kid. Like even now, if I go to a park, I'm not going to be calm. I'm definitely going to be like ecstatic to be there. And then when they brought me home, my mum thought, oh, you know, they're going to say that Lizzie's had an ecstatic day, she's been running around, and then we'll put all the symptoms behind us. But when they brought me home, their parents said that I was actually really quiet and tired. And then that Saturday, the next day after the park, my grandparents took me and my older brother to the BBC in London. It's scary how we didn't notice sooner, because I look back in the pictures and I'm like, how did we not see it? Like, how did mum and dad not see literally my skull popping through my face? I was up and down with energy levels. Like there would be some points, like there's a picture of me pretending to be a weather lady, and I looked quite happy and quite energetic, but then I remember the next moment I was just sat down and not doing anything. I remember this, we went to a restaurant afterwards, and like I said, I ordered a burger, and it was a massive one, and I took a bite out of it and then didn't eat the rest of it, and I was full. And they got actually quite angry, which was quite understandable. However, I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I was just sleeping the whole time. I was tired, I was thirsty. And then the next day, on the Sunday, I was extremely quiet at home. I remember I was sat outside with my mum and dad on like these garden chairs, like the sunbed kind of ones, and I was just sat there really quiet, curled up. My mum and dad were just talking about how it was really weird. So they checked in my mouth. Like they opened my mouth to see if there was like my tongue was really pale or if my teeth showed anything weird. And when they opened my mouth, they could see like these orange bits, and it wasn't like little orange dots. You know when you eat an orange and you have all that white flaky thing around the orange once you peel it? It was like that, but it was bright orange, like bright orange. And they both thought the worst, thinking it could be either appendicitis or even tonsillitis. But they just carried on with the day and just thought nothing of it, thought it was like one of those little school bugs or something. And then they went to B&Q with me. They didn't really want to leave me home on my own, and going to B&Q as a kid was like the best thing. Like I wasn't jumping around like a normal kid would. I was just sat in the trolley. No energy, nothing at all. Literally just sat there. And to be dead honest, I'm never quiet in B&Q, even now. And then after the Sunday, they were really worried about me. They decided to keep me off of school. So the Monday, my mum went into London to go do like these meetings and work, but rang a emergency doctor's appointment to see whenever like she could get it in. And my dad decided to stay at home that day. Thank God he did. And all I wanted was a sweet cup of tea. And as a kid, I hated tea. So that was definitely like a red flag. So my mum came home halfway through the day from London, and checked up on me with my dad, and I couldn't even stand, I couldn't walk, I couldn't hold my weight up. I would literally, my legs would give way. So they went to the doctors and we had to wait a long time for this appointment. This is like a few things that I do remember was this point. Like, I remember just laying in my mum's lap being like, when am I going to be seen? Like, I want to be seen, I feel ill, mum, I want to be better. And it was like a really hard point because no one really knew what was happening. If it was appendicitis, then was I going to be okay or anything like that? Finally, when the doctor was able to see us, she got us in like her room, and as I was about to go onto the hospital bed, like the doctor's bed, I collapsed. Like literally trying to get up the stairs onto the bed, I collapsed on top of the stairs, and immediately she was like, oh my god, we need to lay her down and check her blood sugars and all the blood pressure and whatever else, because I think she thought it was possibly a blood pressure issue. She tested my blood sugars, and just so you know, an average blood sugar should be between 4 and 8. 4 being the lowest, 8 being the highest. Sometimes it ranges from 4 to 10 to 4 to 8. However, I was between 30 and 35, and that is horrendous. Like literally, basically, because I was over 30, I was borderline keto stages. Like, because my levels were so high, I was in this thing called a keto stage. So during the keto stage, what it is when your body doesn't have enough insulin in your blood sugars to allow your cells to use the energy, it basically just caused this buildup of acid in my blood and was causing my blood sugars to go so high because my pancreas, which produces that insulin to help those blood sugars like sort itself out, wasn't working. It was completely dead. It was just not working, which is one of the main reasons why type 1 diabetes is a thing, is because pancreases that produce that insulin does not produce the insulin, thus causing type 1 diabetes. Almost immediately, she called an ambulance and I was like raced to the hospitals. Honestly, I remember sitting on that hospital bed, blinking, and then waking up in the ambulance and looking up and seeing the ambulance roof and stuff like that and feeling the mask on my face. And then the next thing I realised, I was in the hospital, and just, I don't see it as my memory, and that's the worst thing because it was so traumatizing. I kind of just broke myself away from it, and it's really hard to try and connect myself back to being 9 and trying to remember all those times because I was literally on the brink of a coma, and I don't think I had a high chance of waking up if I was to go into that coma. So I'm really thankful that I got into the hospital quick. Once I got to the hospital, my body was shutting down. It was so bad that my veins weren't showing up for the doctors and nurses to actually like feed the IVs into my blood. Like it was so bad. I remember it. I remember just lying there and having like tons of doctors and nurses trying to get a vein in every possible way, like anywhere and everywhere that they could find. The only reason why they were really trying to find my veins was to feed me fluid because I was so dehydrated. I remember shivering and being like, can I have a blanket? Can I have another blanket? Did she get me a blanket? Can I have a blanket? And I already had like 3 blankets on me. I was just completely out of it. My mum said that I was there for around about 12 hours before I stabilised. Because it took me so long to be stabilised, they really wanted to move me to another hospital. They kept looking for beds in the hospital because I wasn't actually in the hospital. I was just in emergency. But because I was so ill, they waited until there was a bed. And the second there was a bed, I remember them just going, the doctors and nurses literally just picked up my bed and just moved me to a room. And I remember being in the elevator and thinking, oh, this is fun. I feel like royalty. And thankfully, when I did get in my bed and I was finally stable, and I was there for around about 3 days, I think my parents said. And my mum and dad both swapped in and out between who was staying beside my bed for those 3 days. I have so many good memories after waking up, and I'm so thankful for the people that were around me at that time, because without my mum and dad and my brother being there talking me through it and just trying to cheer me up. I remember there's this movie called Freaky Friday where there's a mum and a daughter and somehow something happens and they swap places, and it was a really good movie and I love it so much. Like it holds a special place in my heart. It was the funniest movie to us because we were delirious, We were running on like fear and just really shit hospital food. And the TVs, like, bear in mind this was 2014, right? I tell you when I say they had the boxiest TVs, the boxiest. And I'm not talking like box, I'm talking like cardboard box sized TVs on these little metal trays that rolled around the room. It was so fun. And like my dad put 2 straws in his mouth like a walrus and then put a cap on top and blew it off. It's not funny to anyone else but my family, because it's just, in a scenario like that, it was such a serious moment that we just needed some humour to cheer us up. I had to go through loads of tests and loads of IV drips and all sorts of stuff. I think it was the last day of me being in a hospital bed when a nurse walked in with a diabetic nurse and she introduced me to the Nova Rapid pens. I think the hardest thing was, when it came to diabetes, was coming out of the hospital and having this new diagnosis and knowing nothing about it and really being scared about what to do next. We had to relearn everything. However, I am going to do a future video about all the diabetic management products I've used from everything and anything that I've used in my 8 years of having diabetes. Is it really 8 years? I thought it was more than that. Oh my god, it's been 8 years. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. I hope it's been good and informative. If you guys have any comments or concerns, please just let me know down below. And I will see you all in another video. Bye bye! And